Hello, Professor Rider, fellow classmates, and whoever else may be watching this. My name is Stoney Morrison from Rogers State University, and this is my video presentation for the Humanities 1 course. It took me a little bit of thinking and wondering what to really do this over. I had the general idea that I wanted to do this over the Greek gods, and I kind of brought that down into a specific Greek god, that god being Dionysus. Dionysus was the Greek god of fertility, wine and winemaking, ritual madness, and religious ecstasy. Honestly, I had just learned about Dionysus earlier on in this semester in my World Civilization course, and that kind of led me to pick him. He's kind of an interesting guy. Anyways, his parentage is kind of a confusing story in of itself. His father is the big man himself, Zeus, the god of the gods, and his mother was the princess of Thebes named Semele. Those two had an affair where Zeus seduced her and impregnated her with little baby Dionysus. Zeus's wife Hera did not like that very much, so she tricked Semele into having Zeus reveal his true form onto Semele, and Semele is just a mere mortal, so she couldn't handle that full-on power and beauty of a god. So she was burnt to a crisp as soon as she seen him. Zeus, however, saved his unborn son Dionysus and stitched him into his thigh, which is kind of cool, so he could keep him alive. The death of Semele plays an integral role in the tragedy written by Euripides called the Bacchae. The Bacchae is all about Dionysus coming back to the city-state of Thebes after all those years to get back at the royal family for slandering his mother's name and also outlawing worship of Dionysus in the city and not allowing people to make sacrifices to him. So Dionysus comes back to the city disguised as a stranger with his band of Bacchantes, and during the time he was gone, the city was ruled by Cadmus but was given over to his son Pentheus. Pentheus he was the one that outlawed Dionysus's worship and all things like that. And so when Dionysus got to the city, those two had a little discussion about the women who were outside of the city in the forest. They left the city and went to the forest, and they were kind of wandered, or not wandered, but sat blissfully and danced around there and cohorted and kind of worshipped Dionysus a little bit. So, and they did not like that, or Pentheus did not like that, so he tried to lock up Dionysus in jail, which is kind of what Dionysus wanted, since he wanted to get back at that family. So it kind of was all playing into Dionysus' hands. So whenever they tried to torture him and tie him up, it just never worked, and eventually fires and an earthquake broke out. After all that had happened, Dionysus and Pentheus had another exchange where Dionysus tried to persuade Pentheus off this course of action, where when a cowherd came in and started talking about how he had seen those women out there in the forest, and the cowherd was just walking along, and once those women saw him, they came at him and tried to attack him and went into a rage. The cowherd luckily got away, but the cows themselves, they didn't fare too well. They were ripped apart and eaten by the women. Anyways, Pentheus hears this and just becomes overwhelmed with curiosity and excitement about these women and wants to see them, and this is kind of being fed to him by Dionysus subconsciously. So he listens to everything Dionysus says and dresses him up like a woman in a skirt and has him have long hair and things like that, and they go out into the forest to find these women. Pentheus could not see these women from the ground, so Dionysus bends a little tree over, and Pentheus gets up into that tree. Those women see Dionysus and Pentheus, and Dionysus orders them to attack. Which, all the time along with these women, was Pentheus's mother. And so, when those women attacked, the last thing poor Pentheus seen was his mother ripping him to pieces and eventually beheaded him. And his mother didn't know anything about this. She was kind of brainwashed of sorts by Dionysus, sent into this kind of a drunken stupor of sorts, where she just didn't remember or know what was going on. So after all this had happened, they returned to the palace, where there was a chorus singing about Dionysus And Cadmus, the old man, he already had knew what was going on, but Pentheus's mother did not realize what was going on. She had her son's head in her hands, but she had thought she had fought off and killed a lion. So this, in turn, has Dionysus ban the mother from the city, and Cadmus's wife are turned into snakes. This little story kind of shows how the gods may be great and have all power, but they still can get themselves involved in the pettiness of humans. And they have a little bit of humanity themselves because they are so petty, which is a lot like humans, even still today. Well, that about wraps it up for me. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. This has been a pretty interesting course, to say the least. I didn't know anything really about humanities. I didn't even know this was a thing, and honestly, it's been really interesting. I am a big history buff, and I really enjoyed this. So thank you, Professor O'Brider, and thank you for watching.